Good evening, brothers and Brother Joe, brothers and sisters. Garden for your time and for coming and support this session. It's somehow every time we listen to the Lotus Sutra, be it recording session or live session, and somehow it resonates very closely to what is happening around the world. The mentioning of a burning house, we could imagine that the world, the earth that we are staying today, it's also full of disasters. In addition to the COVID that is faced by the global population. When I look at this, at first I was thinking, I think I was still limited. I was thinking maybe the typhoons in Philippines, maybe the Vietnam. At Vietnam, we heard about the few typhoons. I think 6 landed in Vietnam. Maybe in US bushfires in US, even in Malaysia, we heard about the landslide at this luxury resort Banjaran Perak. But it's actually more than Indonesia. They have this, the Mount Merapi threatens to erupt, and then the Egan quake, which took more than 100 over life in Turkey. Ita landslides, typhoons landing in Guatemala. When I look at there's this link today, 其实我真的震撼. It's more than that. Just every 10 minutes, half an hour. I didn't even look at more than 4 hours. The list is like truly so unbearable. Imagine that. So that's why we could understand why Master is so concerned and so alarmed, because Master could feel the earth so well. For me, it's like when I look at this analysis, when it reached the 4 hours, I couldn't bear to look further. So many disasters is all over the world. It's in addition to COVID that is faced by all of us. And unfortunately, this COVID is not like receding, it's like gaining momentum. So all of us, that's why Master keep urging us, it's really time for this great repentance. Really have to go for this vegetarianism. Okay, maybe briefly summary of this burning house parable. In this parable of burning house, it's talk about this great elderly with very wealthy. He has a lot of few houses, servants. He has a large house, but there's only one gateway in the house. Many people, the servants, family members, all live in that house. But actually the house, if you look at the interior, exterior, everything, the walls, the rooms were old and decaying. The walls crumbling, pillars rotting, beams, rafter, all falling apart. And it's very dangerous. Suddenly a fire broke out. So the elderly naturally will be very alarmed. But of course he ran out, but he saw the children were still playing inside the burning house as though nothing has happened, despite the burning house. So the elderly keep asking, pleading them to come out, using kind words, urging them to escape. But the children barely noticed this elderly. So the elderly try to entice them with various and rare and attractive playthings. The 3 carriages that we heard are the goat, the deer and ox carriages. I think throughout these many weeks, maybe months, Master have explained each one in details, what it represented. So the elderly try to entice the children by presenting these 3 precious carts, which are filled with a lot of playthings, precious things to entice the children. Actually, this elder's wealth is overflowing, and he intends to give only the best, nothing but the best to the children. He wanted the children to escape from this fire and keep their bodies intact, make sure that they are safe. Thus, there is no falsehood. The Buddha promised, actually the Buddha's intention. This elderly is like Buddha. Ultimately, Buddha wants to give the great teaching, which is the ox cart. But he gave the white tree. Is there a falsehood? Actually, there's no falsehood, because Buddha wishes them first to be safe. So have to give different types, because like us, sentient beings, different people have different capabilities. Some people, they are more ready for smaller ones. So Buddha get ready all this, the elderly, just like the elderly, for them to escape. Buddha, he has completely rid of all fear, distress, anxiety, ignorance. He has immeasurable insights, powers, freedom from fear. He has gained the spiritual power, great compassion and wisdom that is overflowing. He always seeks to do good, to enrich all sentient beings. Seeing the sentient beings scorched by this fire of beings, all these birth, aging, all these disease, death, anxiety, sorrows, all the poisons, great anger, ignorance, these elderly, like the Buddha, could not bear. Okay, this week in particularly, we heard about the East and West, what really it meant. Okay, that the verse that we heard beginning of this week is Buddha said, Sariputra, the Buddha saw this and thus has this thought: as a father to all sentient beings, I shall relieve their suffering and give them the infinite and boundless joy of the Buddha wisdom for them to play with. So what really is the east and west? Following good karma, we head towards east. Sun rises from the east. When sun is out, it is daytime. With our goodness, our pure and virtuous Dharma in the directions of the light, then our state will be clear, radiant, and bright. See, Master, just that this part, all these analogies, this is just part of so many analogies that Master have given. This is during one of the day Master gave this analogy. What about the west? Following evil karma, we head towards the west. The sun sets in the west, and if we got there, it means we are heading towards darkness. When our hearts enter darkness again, then that's ignorance. So once we have been awakened, we head down the path of goodness, Master said, straight down this path towards goodness. As we continue the path towards the light, we shall and we must never turn back to the road that leads us to the darkness. That's Master reminders to us. So this minds to head towards the directions of the light. In fact, it's all in our thought. A single awakening will bring thousand, actually infinite realization. So Master also gave this parable, this analogy of the leaking boat, just like the life of the ordinary people. We are like the leaky boat in the oceans. It is like a boat that is so old and full of holes, no longer knows where it is heading. It drifts on the oceans, blown about by the wind. Isn't that how our life is? I think most of us, I'm not sure about others, maybe to me before I joined Tzu Chi, don't really have much clue and loss of directions. Not aware, not understanding. So we just let cause take our directions. So the children earlier we heard about heading east and west because they're not aware in this story as well, burning house. They don't understand and they're not alert. That's why they're not afraid, even though the house is on fire, because they don't understand that they are lost, they are in danger. So they're still running to and fro, east and one moment east and next moment west, shuttling the horizon of thoughts of goodness and evil thoughts, just like us. When we hear inspiring stories, then we will have the good thoughts will arise, but how long can it sustain? These brief thoughts of goodness that sprouts, and we are aware we must do good, thus we are born in the human realm, which is still within the burning house. Yet, this good intention may be ruined easily like a leaking boat adrift the oceans. About these the 3 states of 4 principles about these thoughts are arising, abiding, changing, and ceasing. So we come through to and forth, life and death. Yet we do not seek liberation. That's what they said, head east and west, and do not see it as a main concern. Okay, Master also mentioned this powerful pair of hands. Buddha has this great concern of all sentient beings. Sentient beings, Master explained, refers to all animals with feelings and consciousness. It's not only human beings, but all animals as well. Beings with feelings and consciousness, born with myriad conditions. So they are myriad sentient beings, go through the myriad birth and death. So Buddha used this power of compassion and wisdom like these 2 hands working as one. Such is powerful, giving peace and joy to all sentient beings. Is his loving kindness, relieving all the suffering of sentient beings is his compassion. Immediately when I heard Master mention this, it reminded of me of Master setting up Tzu Chi. No wonder Master setting up Tzu Chi, because Lotus Sutra is already as a blueprint in Master's mind. That's the same feeling when I heard recently awakened me when I was in GNC, when I heard Master sharing Lotus Sutra. As I go through a training, it's like, Master already know about it. It's all back to the Lotus Sutra. Okay, Guy for listening. Okay, to this summary, let us open to the floor and okay, maybe invite our Sister Wai Fong as the first sharer for tonight. Sister Wai Fong.
Good evening, Brother Joseph, brothers and sisters. I am actually going to talk a little bit about the burning house parable. Yeah, so the burning house parable and the analogy of the leaking boat drifting in the sea of ignorance brought me back to think of the situation that I've been facing all this while, not aware of the root of my suffering, my habitual tendencies. And I'll just concentrate on the children and I. Give you a little bit background of myself. In my young adult days, I've always liked listening to Dharma talk. I used to go to this Sinhalese temple where I will listen to Dharma talk. And back then, momentarily calms me down and puts me at ease. When I enter into another phase of life, pursuing my career and building a family, I see myself going astray, no allocated time for spiritual practice. And I have many obstacles or excuses for myself as I drift further into the sea of ignorance. I was busy pursuing my career day and night, and I hardly spend time with the children, leaving them in the hands of luckily good nannies and daycare center. And I don't even know that they are having exam in school at school. Only know when I have to sign the exam papers. Just like any other parents who would like to produce exams could benefit mankind, I'm also one of them. The ideal children that I hope to bring up, I wanted them to grow up being virtuous with good conduct. And I often wish that I have one set of methodology to guide them the right way. I realize that as they are growing, I'm lacking this wisdom. And I know that if I were to continue to learn more about the Dharma, I would find an answer. But I feel that at that time, I was too busy with my career. I began to outsource them to people or places that could help to guide them. I sent them to Dharma school, hoping that they could be transformed by the teachers over there. I think that lasted for a year. They refused to go. I installed Thai TV at home. My neighbor told me that, by having Thai TV at home, the children will learn goodness from that instead of watching those Korean movies. So they listen, they watch for a while. After a while, when they start to get busy or some of them have gone into hostel, they don't watch anymore. And as they get into their teens, I realize all these are not enough. I am inadequate. I do not know how to guide them. I need to learn too, and I need to grow my wisdom. So I enrolled the whole family into a Tzu Chi class. Actually, I wanted to find an answer to refine my character so that I could be a role model that they can look up to. So this thought of goodness, wanting to learn more Dharma to improve myself, sprouts every now and then, but that did not last long. I couldn't sustain it, just like what Master has been saying in the Wisdom at Dawn, bouncing east towards sunrise to receive the light due to weak resolve and lack of discipline, bouncing off to the west again towards darkness. And then Tzu Chi International School came along. So when I listened to Sister Kaping's presentation about Tzu Chi International School at various events held at Jingsel Hall years ago, I knew this is the place that I would want to send my youngest child to. I think he would be the one that may have the chance back then, I thought. So I was impressed by the education philosophy, the humanistic teaching, and the culture that will be inculcated into the syllabus. So this is something that I've been looking for, the humanistic value, and I hope that I will be able to, at the school will be able to, I will be able to see this exemplary child. So I thought, I know that this is not enough. And just this year, I was encouraged to join the Gen Z, and I took up, I signed up for the Gen Z. So I feel that it's indeed a blessed affinity that happened. So during this Gen Z course, there's a lot of things that I studied. so during this pandemic, I have the opportunity to learn more about Tzu Chi and learn more about Dharma, the wisdom at dawn, Xing Fa Xiang, which I thought I'm glad that I could wake up in the morning and learn more from that. So these are two, indeed, I feel that these are two blessed affinity that happen. I can learn and hopefully grow together with my son, and grow in our wisdom and eventually compassion. So this is something that I wanted to share when I listened to this week's talk about the burning house, getting out of the burning house, being led by Tzu Chi, enticed out of the burning house to the great carts outside, like the GNC course and the Tzu Chi International School. Thank you everybody for listening, Kanan.
Sister Wai Fong, yeah, really glad to have Sister joining us. Xin Fa Xiang daily. Sister is very diligent and we, all of us walk the path and grow our wisdom life together. Okay, maybe the next sharer, maybe invite Brother Robert. Brother Robert, are you online? Our host.
Yes, hello. Yes, brothers and sisters, good evening. Yeah, so I was a bit rushed. I just managed to just came in. Yes, first and foremost, not only I wish to express Kanan to Sister Tzu Chi for giving me this opportunity to share, but I also, on behalf of all of us here, wish to express our deepest gratitude to Sister Xiao Qing for being the first seed to set up this English platform on Lotus Sutra in Malaysia, thus benefiting so many volunteers across the globe. Sister Xiao Qing is so brave, so diligent, so committed, and so fearless. In fact, I think when she started, I remember she was a bit naive, but she's very pure. She's very, very pure. Just to start this platform, So I think when we started, of course, Sister Xiao Qing and Brother Joe started the Xing Fa Xiang sharing platform, and then this year, somewhere in April, I was given the opportunity to host it. So I think every day, the sharing from our volunteers so inspiring, so touching, and so insightful. I think our sharers were able to summarize Masters, the daily's teaching so well and connect it, not only share so well, I think we're able to connect it very well with their own life and their daily happenings. And each volunteer share and use their different capabilities and different skillful means. For example, for those who listen to Wisdom at Dawn this morning, we heard about this analogy of the lion's roar, to rattle our minds, to awaken us. And then so somehow, when we move into our post this sharing platform, we turn our mini voucher assembly into a lion assembly. We enjoy immensely the lively, practical, and awesome sharing from all our lion and lioness. All of us are turned from normal person to all these lion and lioness. Of course, besides sharing, we also turn our platform into a great repentance room. So a lot of brothers and sisters, after hearing from Master's teachings, also repented some of the Siqi, some of the ignorance, some of the wrongdoings. So I think that also give us room to change. So we have all the various brothers and sisters who are brave enough to sometimes lao kui a bit, and then but they still come in to tell us that still repent in front of all of us, But I think all this make it truly honored for me to host and learn from all these diligent volunteers. And another the day when Sister Irene shared when she started the small Xing Fa Xiang Center, she need to brave herself to open this center every morning. And after that, she eagerly looked forward to receive the first volunteer. So I want to tell Sister Irene. Sister Irene is here, isn't it? Sister Irene here? Yeah, Sister Irene. You won't be alone anymore, you know. In fact, all of us won't be alone anymore. You have all of us to accompany each of you to walk the path. I think all of us, we will learn from each other. You know, I think that is where this, gathering of all these volunteers, all these pusas for us to learn. And of course, we cannot forget our dearest and most hardworking volunteer in Tzu Chi, Brother Joe, from being the mountain of wisdom. I said, I wanted to find the right word to describe Brother Joe. I think he's our mountain of wisdom, and our biggest pillar of support that we can always rely upon. Okay, thank you so much here.
Yeah, indeed, our brother Joe is really like the medicine king. What is burning arms and hands of legs for everyone. Okay, and okay, maybe invite our sister, Australia very diligent sister Sharon every day. Also, I know she's looking at the music, but there's one day I forgot. Sister Sharon will remind me very good. Sister Sharon.
Canon brothers and sisters, good evening. There are three key points implanted in my mind from this chapter 3, the parable of the burning house, which I like to share. That's my own thoughts and all that. And one of my first key point is that I always remember, I'm going to use all my power to save you by any means necessary. Yes, I want to save you to get you out of the house. And then my second point that is implanted in my mind as well is that I'm desperate. I'm so desperate to save you. Therefore, I will use whatever methods necessary I can do to save you. And the third point is I'm going to teach you compassion and wisdom. So in the parable of the burning house, many of our afflictions and delusions, as the complications in the house from children's stubbornness, attachments, greeds, are all described through analogies. For myself, but before I started Dharma, I was really nervous that whether I could understand Dharma or not, because the meanings behind it can be very deep. But I must say that Master used a lot of parables and analogies as a method of teaching us to understand, to realize the principles, and to learn the Buddha's way. The parable of the burning house shows us the urgency or desperation to awaken sentient beings. Saving the children from the burning house is a simple parable that can be understood by normal people like myself, regardless of age. I think that everybody knows that we shouldn't be playing with fire. Even a 10-year-old or even a 2-year-old child knows that we shouldn't be playing with fire, because mother always say, don't play with fire. You know, fire can burn and fire can lead to death. That is how serious fire is. That's why this parable is very, very powerful as a means of telling us that the danger that we are in now. The sheep cart, deer cart, ox cart methods used to save the children in the burning house. The father uses whatever methods necessary just to get the children out of this house. So each child have different capabilities to understand. So the father will use different methods that suits. So father will say, you should quickly leave this burning house, that, then I will give you whatever you desire. And all the children took joy in whatever suited their minds and their desires. So sheep cart analogy are for the hero vehicle. Deer cart analogy are for the solitary realizers, and the ox cart, the bodhisattva. And but whether we are, whether they're great vehicles or small vehicles, all the children came out safely. That is the main thing. Came out safely from the burning house and arrived at a safe place. So the Buddha is kind of a father to us. Whatever happens, we are together. It's like, I will never abandon you. I will never abandon my own children. Knowing that all his children have these great habitual tendencies of ourselves and not that serious, he felt worried. but he doesn't give up. He guides us to move forward in our lives, heading in the right direction. So with the power of compassion, he gives the immediate help to lighten normal people like us, our burden, and relieve the suffering of ourselves and when we are in need. With the great power of wisdom, he gives provisional teachings in the hope that a normal being can comprehend the meanings behind his words. For this reason, and for this one great cause, Buddha came to the world to teach us and avoid the evil and head towards the goodness, seek liberation. So what it tells us that if we do good, follow the good karma, we bounce to the east, you know, where sunrise is. And of course, on the opposite, if we have evil thoughts, do bad things, follow the bad karma, we bounce to the west, towards the sunset and towards the darkness. So basically it's like we outwardly practice compassion and with skillful means, and inwardly we should cultivate wisdom to go among people. So Buddha spoke with his heart and hope that we can connect with his words and connect with his wisdom. Those that can connect are bodhisattvas, who share his mission and path and walk together with him. So I hope I can connect with him, you know, very dearly. So to sum up, it's just my own 3 key points is that I'm going to use all my power to save you. By all means necessary, yes, to save you, get you out of the burning house. That's my one point I always have in my mind. Second is that I'm very desperate. I'm desperate. Therefore, I will use whatever methods to get you out of it, whatever methods I can do to save you. And the third one is that I'm going to teach you now. I'm going to teach you compassion and wisdom. That's my understanding. I'm not sure or not.
Well summarized, Sister Sharon. Yeah, get all the main points for the week. Yes, and indeed, we know Sister Sharon not only sharing it, she's also walking very deeply into this path of Bodhisattva with deepest compassion. We always see Sister around helping the person to relieve the suffering of all these.
I preferred somebody else share, but since you have asked me, I cannot refuse, Sister Tzu Chi. Right. I think that in this burning house thing, for myself, yeah, I have always been very easy in where these kind of spiritual or Dharma things are concerned, even from young, because I always think to myself that if I don't do anything bad, if I take care of my own immediate family very well, and if I have the capacity, I will take care of my outer circle of family, which is maybe relatives and so on. And then I said, if every one of us do the same thing, our circles will overlap. Then nobody needs help because all of us are taking care of our respective families. All of us are taking care of our respective relatives. So where's the problem in the world? Obviously, it's not as simple as that. Conditions for every family will never be that good. There will always be, black sheep and, in family that will cause a lot of heartache. There will be, not every family have members that are strong enough to keep them together and to help them. I didn't understand that. I always thought that, what's so difficult? All of us do the same thing and everything will be fine. And so I tell Brother Chin, hey, how bad can I be if I just do this? And is that not good enough? He says, no. That was a very strong no. But he didn't want to tell me anything because probably at that time he thought that I had limited capabilities. It would be difficult to make her understand. And he left it at no. But from Dharma and all that. And one thing leads to another, and then Sister Cupping brought us all together. And then we say, we are very energetic people in that sense. So we wanted to go out and do something and not just sit and talk. And the Tzu Chi platform was very good because it gives us a platform to go out and do something action based. So I realized then that yes, so I was so ignorant at that time, because you think that that little bit of thing you are doing is such a big deal. And I have, of course, been doing. When I read newspapers about people who need help. There was a child, for example, who was burned badly. Newspaper was asking for help. I don't hesitate to help. I called the doctor in JB and I asked him, is this real? And he says, yes, the child is burnt and it's real. And would you like to help him? And I say, yes, I will help him. I sent the money to help him. Somebody in the newspapers wrote that there was a promising, in I think St. John's or St. Xavier's in KL, they have Form 6 classes for the blind, and they needed computers for the blind. And they asked for help. I said, yeah, sure, because working for the blind I have a soft spot for that, because I feel that the blind are the most vulnerable. And people who help the blind must have the purest heart, because if not, nobody knows if you're cheating them, right? Because they can't see. They don't know what you're doing. So I always have this soft spot to help the people who are blind. But these kind of things are very few and far in between, because I think, I'm so busy lah, I would like to help more, but maybe when my children are bigger, maybe when I retire, and then I never get to retire yet, even until now. So all the maybe. So obviously what is happening is that I have the good thoughts. I don't have the evil thoughts, but I never progress. So the dilly-dally. So Master says, don't dilly-dally between good thoughts and evil thoughts. But it's just as bad when you are staying in a good thought and doing nothing about it, which is what I'm doing, And it's like, if you want to do something good, what I mean? What are you waiting for? Do it now, So I think that this is something that is talking very much to me, that I shouldn't be all the time giving excuses. All the leaks in the boat, the boat is there, but it's always floating on that ocean, not moving, because there's so many leaks. My leaks are all the excuses that I give to myself, right? So I think that, thinking about doing something is just not enough, right? And I think that when there is a thought and we do something, so I find that if I go and do something, that particular action will create another need to do something, another good thing, and another good thing, and another good thing. And then it will allow you to continue doing, the opportunity to progress, right? So then you don't have the condition where you will just regress, like go backwards or stagnant, right? So the chapter on going to the good thoughts, going east, and the boat not to let it leak, it speaks very very directly to me. Yeah. So this week was very, very good in the sense that it will make me think now to be very mindful that I should not always say later. I do what I want to do. I do what I can now, because there will always be people who need help. Yeah, Kanan.
Kanan sister very wonderfully shared. Yeah, we know sister is very humble. Sister is also very involved in refugee home visit. 真的是来，我们一起来加油，感恩。Okay, over to Sister Lily. Sorry, because of time, we still have 2 more. Sister Lily, over to you.
Good evening, Brother Joe, and brothers and sisters. Thank you, Sister Tzu Chi, for giving me the opportunity. Okay, burning house. So if we listen to the world news, there are various disasters, one after another, happening in a short gap very frequently, such as typhoon in China, Philippines, Vietnam, and so on, which cause so much of devastation and suffering. Okay, so this have caused much suffering to the victims, and their NGO and kind-hearted people provides disaster relief, comfort their mind and body by providing hot meals and temporary shelter. We can see these Tzu Chi volunteers appear in the disaster area, which are safe to provide disaster. So this disaster, we can see destruction to the earth, buildings, and physical things. However, since the end of last year, there is this emergence of invisible things, COVID-19 attacking millions of people around the world and cause death. These invisible things are very powerful. We human beings have to protect ourselves with new norm, like social distancing, put on masks, etc., so that we are not be attacked. So this scale is even bigger compared to the disaster that we can see that destroy the nature, building, etc. And it also caused mental and emotional unrest and economy downturn, and people lost their income, not enough money to support the family, depression, and so on. So aren't we in the burning house around the world? Sentient beings are not yet able to avoid birth, aging, illness, and death, worry, sadness, suffering, and afflictions. So these are the verses from Master in the Wisdom at Dawn. Sadly, sentient beings are deluded by ignorance, so they are lacking in wisdom and awareness. They are not alert and not afraid. They have no sense of renunciation, nor do they seek liberation or recognize suffering. Sentient beings dwelling in the burning house, so they cannot be transformed. With the darkness of ignorance obscuring their sixth sense organ, their bodies, mind, and matters are not under their control, and they cannot faithfully accept the right Dharma. So Buddha have provided provisional teaching to teach and guide sentient beings to come out from the burning house by providing three vehicle teachings, goat, deer, and ox cart. So we listen to the Buddha Dharma, contemplate and practice. That will increase our wisdom. So we engage in spiritual cultivation, have faith, and increase our spiritual consciousness. We know when we have increased our spiritual consciousness, we'll know how to discern what is right and what is wrong. So like just now, Sister Tzu Chi mentioned, facing the sun, the east, the direction of the east, which is the wisdom, where we dispel the darkness of our ignorance, purify our mind, and turn our mind to be radiant and bright. So this is the path that I will pursue, walking the Bodhisattva path in this life and lifetime after lifetime. So everyone, we spread the Buddha's teaching far and wide to purify a multitude of people and have a peace and harmony world. Okay, Master Ching Yen have also urged everyone due to this COVID-19 to adopt vegetarian diet, which is the wondrous spiritual remedy for the betterment of the world. Raise our loving kindness and compassionate heart towards all living beings. We have to have deep faith in these teachings. Okay, Kan En, that's my sharing.
Oh, wonderfully shared, Sister Lily. Very grateful. Sister Lily is one of my great benefactors. I still remember during COVID time, when I faced difficulty going out, my home brother was very concerned. At the point of time when it just started, we have this lockdown. I wish us to go out and help others. Then my home brother said, "Who are you going out?" I said, "I'm going out with Sister Lily and his home brother." Then my home brother heard, "Okay, these two persons, okay," he give me the green light. So and Sister Lily, ever diligent sister, yeah, always facing the east. How? Let us pass it to, sorry, Brother Joe, hear from Sister Stephanie before we hand over to Brother Joe. Okay,
Sister Xiaoqing, we talk for Brother Joe and brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to share. So I would like to share basically on the two episodes, right? Which is episode 591 and 593. And the verses that resonate with me a lot is this part where Master says the Buddha and sentient beings are connected by Dharma essence and wisdom life. And that is the bloodline and family lineage. Both love their children very much, but one can relieve the suffering of the child and save the child from the burning house in the three realms. So in this particular episode, Master shared about the story of a couple from Malaysia, yeah, who brought their 17-year-old daughter who was suffering from a very severe form of cancer to the Dalian hospital, Tzu Chi Dalian hospital, for her child in Malaysia. And Master spoke about the child's desire and desire to live, you know, though she was so feeble, she really pleaded with the doctors to save her life, and that's what I say. Only matter out. But in the end, the child, doctors did all that they could. The child still had could not be saved and passed away. So for the parents, it was really suffering on top of suffering. But during this suffering period, they were actually so blessed to be able to learn that the Buddha has given us, as long as we have faith in the Buddha's teaching. So it reminded me of the time that as a new mother, you know, my daughter was born with a very rare case of a congenital heart disease, where she was not only have a hole in her heart, but she wasn't born without a pulmonary artery, means she only had an aorta. So, we of course, from the time she was 5 months old until the time she was 39 months, we were always in and out of hospitals to do multiple corrective intervention to keep her alive. And even though at that time I wasn't a Buddhist, I was found Tzu Chi, I already have Sikh Buddhism, and I was very blessed. At the same time, my mother, who is actually the source of faith for me, that every time during our hospital stays, my mother would be there. So even though we were not staying in a Tzu Chi hospital, we were not, you know, my mother would be always doing the chanting. You know, she was always doing chanting, whether it's Da Bei Zhou or Xin Jing, or especially during hospital stays, she would chant the Medicine Buddha mantra, and this gave me a source of moral support, and of course spiritual strength, and of course the deep faith, the faith in the powers of prayers. So when eventually for the final corrective surgery, we had no choice but to bring our daughter all the way to United States, you know, to Cleveland, Ohio, because of the difficulty in her case, her situation. We had to go all the way to the US for the final intervention. And I remember our operation, about what are they doing. You know, every hour they'll tell you, okay, now we are cutting this, and now this is what we're facing and all that. I just remember, though my mother was not there, you know, for the whole entire 11 hours, I remembered I would just be chanting with my mala beads. You know, I was continuously chanting the Medicine Buddha mantra. All in, I chanted for 10 hours. I only took 1 hour break for my lunch. And all the time I was just visualizing, you know, Buddha's hands, you know, guiding the doctor's hands, Buddha's light inside the operating room. And eventually, to cut a long story short, of all the children, you know, this is a world center for all the most complicated heart disease for children, pediatric cases. And of all the cases that went in for the surgery, some are very simple, some are less complicated. Of all the cases that went in, only 2 cases walked out happily, joyfully, healthily. And one of those was my daughter. And I believe it is because of this strength that the Buddha gave us to let us have the concentration energy, power of concentration, power of faith, to overcome all the suffering of all the myriad conditions that we are born with, you know, the myriad karmas that we bring ourselves into this lifetime. So just very thankful, just thinking about this episode made me recall how grateful and how thankful I am always for the Buddha's teachings, even though it's 2,500 years away, you know. But the moment we tap into the strength and the power of the Buddha's teachings, yeah, we are connected immediately through the Dharma, through the wisdom life, through our Dharma essence, and that that is what it is. So I think I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to go to 593 because I think we're running short of time. So I'd just like to say thank you very much. And for all of us to have deep faith in Master's teachings and of course, Buddha's teachings. Ganan very much. Ganan.
To everybody's sharing, I am once again humbled in front of all of you for your diligence and your hard work. Really drives not just you, but all of us, because when you go forward, it's not just you. You're taking the whole group with you because everybody sees each other and to be better, to want to be better, and then we all go together. So hearing everybody's thoughts about the recent days of the episodes, it does bring me, gives me more drive and gives me more this energy to do more and want to learn more. For me, the parable of the burning house, for me has always been. I'm actually I like to read stories, especially these parable stories from the sutra or from when Master tells us, because I think for stories I am able to understand more and I am able to think rebelliously. You know, I like to think outside. I like to think something that's sort of contradicts to what the normal process is. It's not that I'm special. I am not. I just like to think opposite. And I think most of us do that. I think most of us do that. And I tend to do that with stories and parables. For me, I've always thought, just like what Sister Sharon said, she thought about, you know, she thought about with all means necessary, you know, that's what she gets. And she's going to, she's very desperate to help everybody. And she's going to do everything that she can. So I'm quite the opposite. You know, I start to ask, adds to our desire. They're stuck inside because they're unwilling to come out because they're playing the games and the toys. Now we're just using another bigger games and toys to entice them, to get them out. Now, how would we? And I believe that outside is just another phantom city, that probably the actual outside is maybe the courtyard. You haven't actually leave the entire bigger house. And now that you give them the very big cart, what are you going to put on the next level when you need an even bigger cart? And you're feeding into this desire. You're feeding into this affliction that causes you to stay in the very first place. It's almost like, you know, what with all the vegetarian diet right now, where we are making the vegetarian diet the taste so much like meat that you essentially are eating meat without the guilt of eating meat. And while that is good to take people off of eating meat, the essence of the greed to wanting to taste good flavors still there. And when the next stage of requirement comes up that requires us to give up a little bit more, are we ready to do so? So that's my counter thinking, you know, is this really the best methods? And understanding what Sister Sharon said, that obviously, you know, desperate. So we're going to get you out of the courtyard first, right? Save your life first. Then we can think about how to improve it later, right? So I agree with that too. You know, I totally agree. So all these things are just what I think about when I see these stories. I tend to want to dive into it a little bit more and try to be try to find a different perspective. And also I wanted to think about who caused the fire in the first place. I mean, obviously there isn't, in the story, there isn't much to say who caused the fire, right? And the elder never really mentioned who caused the fire. And if we believe that the nature is an extension of our mind, so Master had said that the fire is caused by all the anger and the greed, caused all the flooding and all of such, then you would know, that you probably believe that it's caused by us. But the elder never said that. the elder, probably out of protection and compassion, never said that the fire was caused by the very people that he's trying to save right now, right? So these are all very valid points, I think, and these are all something that got me thinking more about this story, okay? And so what about fire education? What about once you get them out of the bigger house, the burning house, there is no telling that you are going to make sure that they do not set fire upon the very next thing that they are sort of safe, haven right now. So the Phantom City is there. The Phantom City is there. Now they're safe in the Phantom City, or except that they haven't learned how to keep themselves away from playing fire. And therefore, even though that there is a Phantom City that is now safe, there's no telling that they won't burn that one down too. So these are the things that I think about. And I tend to want to think more about how we can improve ourselves because of all these different parts of the story. And that's just how I feel. But I do like the point where the sister mentioned that if you take care of yourselves, right? If you take care of one, then everybody does the same. Then we will be actually, going forward toward a utopia. And I think I agree with that too. And I think the Bodhisattva path is exactly that even though that we're all supposed to be doing the same, but there are others that require our help to be able to do the same. And just like those that are born blind, even though there is some sense of equality, but there is still the idea that they need our help to see, even though we're doing the same that we're supposed to do. So I think I agree with that. It's just that what is considered to be fair? A person who owns, who is a multi-billionaire, donates $1,000 is very different from a person who only has 1,000 and donates 1,000. So even though in the amount it looks to be the same, in reality it's very different, right? So what does it mean to be, take care of yourself or take care of oneself? Then perhaps it's also have a different meaning too. So these are just some of the things that I thought about when we're talking about the parable of the burning house, which gets me to be very pensive, to think about the extension of the stories. And I think as Master mentioned a couple of days ago, I remember watching that was talking about how out of so many things that the Master, that the Buddha wanted to say, the things that were actually said had to be the most important. It had to be the most effective. It had to be the most direct, straight. Otherwise, you would just be wasting your time and doing something that is not direct, that is not effective. And that wouldn't be logical, okay, in the minds of us ordinary people, right? So I do think that from one, it begets infinity, because we need to see more than just the story itself. And that brings me to the next part. So thanks everybody for your diligence and also dedication.